Hey there everybody, today we are making fajitas. Fajitas is a really easy recipe that I think everyone should know how to make. It's a perfect meal for when you're short on time and just really need to get some food in you. Plus it's got the best of everything, it's cheap, it's quick, it's tasty, and it's easy to make. So anyway, here is everything you need to make fajitas. There's only 3 main ingredients, and those are boneless, skinless chicken thighs, an onion, and a couple bell peppers. Other than that, we got the spices, starting with salt and pepper. Then we got garlic powder, chili powder, cumin, and cayenne. Then for what we need to cook it, a mixing bowl, a pan to fry everything up in, and we could stop at the pan, but I'm going to show you to make fajitas 2 ways, and one of them is going to use that baking sheet over there. So anyway, let's get to cooking.
Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is chop our veg, starting with the bell peppers. To do this, you're gonna want to get only the good stuff off that pepper. An easy way to start cutting your pepper is to cut what I like to call a hill off the pepper while avoiding the valleys. The valleys are the little indents that run down the bell pepper, and that's where the core connects to the sides of the pepper. So if you cut off a hill and avoid the valleys, you'll get none of the core, but you'll get all of the good stuff off that pepper. Then after you've got all the white stuff off those peppers, you can start cutting them into thin slices. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and cut those into reasonably sized pieces. This is a really important step because in my opinion, the worst thing you can do while making fajitas is leaving those pieces too big. When I take a bite of fajitas, I want to be able to get some of everything, and I don't just want a whole bite of bell pepper or onion. And speaking of onion, that's what we're going to be cutting next. The first thing you want to do with your onion is cut it in half from top to bottom, not side to side. Then cut off the top of your onion, which is the side without any roots on it. Next, peel your onion. Now, onions like to be a little tricky, and oftentimes when you peel them, that outermost layer will look good to go, but oftentimes it is not. That outer layer usually thins out a whole lot towards the root side, and if we were to cook that thin layer, it usually doesn't caramelize very well. It's usually tough and just in general unpleasant. So the tip I would give to you is to peel off that outermost layer, no matter how good it looks. After you peel your onion, go ahead and chop off that root side, and after that go ahead and cut your onion in half again from cut side to cut side. Then all you have to do is cut them as thin or as thick as you like them. And if they do turn out uneven, just remember you're not bad at cutting, you're making it home style. Okay, onto the chicken. First, get your chicken unpacked and onto the cutting board, then start trimming a little bit of the fat off your chicken. How much you trim is up to you, and you can trim a little or a lot, but just remember what I said. Just like I don't want a mouthful of bell pepper or onion, I also don't want a mouthful of chicken fat. Okay, I split my chicken into 2 groups because like I said earlier, I'm making this 2 different ways. One of them is going to stay whole and the other one is going to require a little bit more chopping. The thighs that are going to stay whole I put into the mixing bowl for later, and the ones that are going to require a little bit more work, you're going to want to cut these into thin pieces. The best way I found to do this is to cut them in half a little bit closer to the thicker side of the chicken thigh. Then from there, turn your chicken 90 degrees and chop them into thin pieces. When you're done chopping your chicken, get it into the mixing bowl so we can start seasoning. To start, add about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt per pound of your chicken, then add a good amount of black pepper. After that, Add about a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, chili powder, and cumin per pound of your chicken. Finally, you can add a little bit of optional lime juice. You can skip this step altogether or add it at the end when you're assembling your fajitas. Just make sure to add it in moderation because it can overpower the other flavors. When you're done seasoning, it's time to get your hands dirty. There's no way around it. This is the best way to mix your chicken. If you really don't like touching raw meat, I'd recommend some food grade gloves, but no matter what, you gotta mix your chicken until all the spices are evenly distributed. When you're done seasoning, it's finally time to start cooking, and now I get to show you the two different ways I'm going to be making these fajitas. We're gonna start with the chicken thighs we left whole because they're gonna take a little bit longer to cook. To start, heat up enough oil to just cover the bottom of the pan over high heat. Then, when your oil is hot enough, and an easy way to tell is if it's just starting to let off wisps of smoke, put your chicken in the pan. So for these, we're really trying to get a nice hard sear on the outside of this chicken. After about a minute or two, you should have a good sear on one side, so you can go ahead and flip it. And it's going to be the same thing for the second side. We're trying to get a nice sear, so don't be afraid to check underneath the chicken to see how the progress is going. It's not going to hurt your chicken, I promise. And when that second side is good and seared, you can go ahead and throw those onto your baking sheet. From there, they're going straight into the oven that should be preheated to 350. I recommend preheating your oven before you even start chopping up your veg, because you want it nice and hot by the time your chicken gets out of the pan. That chicken is going to spend 10 minutes in the oven, and what I like to do is just wait about 5 minutes and then start cooking my veg from there. And by the time I'm done cooking that, the chicken should be good to go, and I just have to chop it and throw it in. Anyway, onto the chopped chicken. You're going to start off the same way by preheating just enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan over high heat, and just when it's letting off wisps of smoke, you're going to throw in your chicken. This time you can flip them over after about 30 seconds, and you're going to want to keep moving those around so you can make sure all your sides get cooked. Don't be afraid to go hunting through your chicken to make sure that all your pieces are good and cooked on all their sides. Anyway, after about 3 or 4 minutes, all your chicken should be cooked through, and just evacuate that to a plate so we can start cooking our veg. The veg goes about the same way as the chicken does. You preheat oil in your pan, get it nice and hot, and then throw it in. Now there's an important step here that I will often see people miss, and that is seasoning your veg. A little bit of salt and pepper here goes a long way, and it'll make your fajitas just that much better. Anyway, for your veg, you're just going to want to keep it moving until you get some nice color, and that's it. We don't want these cooked all the way through. We don't want them soft. We want some nice texture still on them, so once they have their color, take them off the heat. At this point, if you made the seared chicken, it should be done and you can take it out of the oven. Then all you gotta do is chop it up. After that, just throw in your cooked chicken and mix it all together, and your fajitas are done. All that's left to do now is plate up and eat. As for the assembly of your fajitas, just put on whatever makes you happy. My two favorite things to add are a little bit of sour cream and a little bit of salsa. You can add a whole bunch of different stuff here though, like avocado or cheese. You could add your lime juice here. Just put on whatever you think will taste good, and I'm sure it will.